Midnight visitors and the cornfield rituals. Life on a rural farm in Iowa means one thing: quiet. The kind of quiet where the nearest neighbor is a half-mile away and every sound at night feels louder than it should. Our two closest neighbors, George and Kenny, lived in opposite directions. Both farmers, both the kind of men who could talk more about soil than sports. We often had them and their wives over for dinners, drinks, and board games just to fill the silence of farm life. One weekend, George and his wife came over. We all drank way too much wine, argued over board game rules, and laughed ourselves breathless until they finally left around 11 p.m. They only lived a short drive away, 30 seconds straight down the road. My wife, Cheryl, and I stayed up, half drunk, watching one of our comfort movies. We were just about to fall asleep on the couch when someone knocked on the door. That never happened here. Not at this hour. Not ever. The knock came again. 3 dull thuds, and a muffled voice followed. "We need help, please." I muted the TV. Cheryl froze beside me. I approached the door cautiously and called out, "Who's out there?" A man's shaky voice answered, "Thank God, we're lost. Can you open up?" "We?" I asked. "My wife and I," he said. "Let me hear her," I replied. Silence. A long, uncomfortable one. Then the man said, "She's not next to me right now." Red flag. Huge red flag. Something about his voice wasn't right. It sounded false, like someone trying to imitate a different pitch. I laughed nervously and said, "George, is that you messing around?" The voice answered immediately, but deeper this time. "Yeah." That's when the panic really hit. If it was actually George, he'd be laughing his head off already. Still, I needed to be sure. Out here, strangers don't just walk up to farmhouses at midnight asking for help. It doesn't happen. So I asked, "What's your wife's name?" "Oh, that's a trick question," he replied. My stomach dropped. I stepped away and grabbed my phone while Cheryl whispered, "Call the police." I called George first. "Are you at my door?" I asked. "No," he answered immediately. "Why?" "There's someone trying to get in." "I'm coming over right now." Before he arrived, another set of knocks hammered against the door. I shouted, "Leave now? I have a shotgun." The voice responded calmly, "We just need to use a phone." Cheryl dialed 911. Out here, response times are painfully slow. Then we heard footsteps, several sets, walking across our wooden wraparound deck. One of them tried lifting a window. Cheryl screamed, "Go away!" I sprinted upstairs, grabbed my shotgun, and raced back down just as someone pounded on the door again. This time it was George. He burst an arm with his own shotgun and said he hadn't seen anyone on his drive over. The police arrived about 20 minutes later, did a quick sweep, and told us to install cameras. Only the front door, an old wooden one, had stood between us and whoever was out there. I still shudder thinking about it. Part 2. The Cornfield Ritual. The following summer, I was watching my grandparents' farm while they were out of town. Everything was peaceful until late one night I heard something moving in the cornfield outside. At first, I shrugged it off, probably a deer. But then every cow in the barn began mooing at once. That never happens unless something is very wrong. I was heading outside to check when a single, sharp, high-pitched cow scream cut through the night. My blood ran cold. I grabbed my grandfather's hunting rifle from his room and sprinted outside. The cows were panicking, stumping, shifting wildly in their stalls. One was missing. Then I heard it, a moaning sound coming from a field, followed by voices, human voices. I fired 2 warning shots into the air. The cows stopped. The voices went quiet. Then came footsteps, multiple, moving through the corn. I stepped into the rows of corn, trembling but determined. Farmers defend their land. That's the rule. I walked deeper and deeper until I saw him, a man dressed head to toe in black, standing motionless among the stalks. He wore a mask. "Get out of my field." I yelled, raising the rifle. He didn't move. I fired another shot above him. Still nothing. Instead, he stepped forward, slowly, like he didn't fear the gun at all. That's when I realized I wasn't alone. There were 6 or 7 others surrounding me in the corn, all wearing masks, all deathly silent. Then they began chanting. The sound was low, rhythmic, like a twisted song in a language I couldn't recognize. I ran. I fired behind me blindly until I heard them retreat. When I finally reached the edge of the field, I saw something that made me almost vomit. A cow's severed head, placed in a circle of lit candles. I ran inside, called the police, and waited shaking in my grandfather's room until an officer arrived. A search team came later and found the same ritual circle. We still don't know who that group was, but they picked the wrong night to come. Part 3. The Whistler in the Dark. A year later, another frightening incident happened, this time at my own family farm in Arkansas. My parents were away on a trip, so I was home with my 2 sisters, Crystal and Morgan. Everything was normal until our dogs suddenly started barking like mad toward the cornfield. I stepped outside to shut them up, but then I heard it, a human whistle coming from inside the field. Not random, not natural, a slow, eerie tune. My heart dropped. I went inside, grabbed one of Dad's guns, and told my sister someone was out there. They convinced me not to go charging into the field at night, so I fired a warning shot into the sky instead. Silence. For a moment. Then the dogs barked even louder. I ran outside again, and this time I saw him, a man standing at the very edge of the crops, staring toward the house. When I shouted, he bolted into the corn. I refused to send the dogs back out, so we brought them inside and called our dad. He told me to keep the gun with me and protect my sisters. Later that night, while I was in my room, I heard the whistle again. I looked out my window and saw a shadowy figure walking in the backyard. He stopped suddenly, turned his head toward me, and kept whistling that awful tune. I aimed the gun out the window and fired a shot near him. He ran. This time, he didn't return. We never found out who it was, or what he wanted. But ever since then, farm life hasn't felt peaceful. It feels watched. Something about these wide-open spaces makes you realize, when danger comes in the middle of nowhere, no one will hear you scream.